What is going down, everybody? Welcome to the very first Am I Still on the Air of 2020. That's right, it's a new year, it's a new day, but we still be bringing you that hot content. And you know what it is with Am I Still on the Air? We focus down on very specific things to bring you. And one of the biggest things we've been trying to bring you for the last couple of weeks here is to talk about the number one movie for 3 weeks in a row, the number one movie in the world, the final chapter in the Skywalker saga. That's right, it is the Am I Still in the Air? Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker spoiler review. That's right, spoiler review. I can't stress it enough. Spoiler review. We're going to be talking about this movie, all about this movie. Nothing will be left off. If you don't want spoilers, then you shouldn't be listening to this. Bookmark it, come back later at another time. You can listen to the spoiler-free review a couple weeks ago on my Am I Still in the Air regular podcast. Listen to the episode Rise, and you can check that out. But tonight, it's all about spoilers. I've been telling you it's coming, and it's here. So as always, I'm joined with my spoiler crew, Peeps and Frigginz. What up, y'all?
Thanks for having us, Don, yet again. Appreciate you.
So excited to be back. I sound a little funny, but I'm here.
We're here to bring you the hot cock tent. It sounded like you said cock tent before, so.
You said cock tent.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah,
What's your
I
own
don't know what you're
words?
listening to.
You'll hear it. You'll hear it.
By the way, Don, I want to give you a special shout out for that amazing disclaimer of spoilers. I think that was your best job ever of laying out the spoiler news. This will have spoilers. I love it.
Spoilers.
There will be that guy that said, I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe you said that. Well, we did. The movie's been out for 3 weeks. You've had enough time to watch it. I've seen it twice. I don't know if anybody else on here has seen it more than once, but
Seen it.
Have you seen it twice now?
Yes, sir.
All right. I know Fred's only seen it once. So
That's
this
it.
is what's going to be fun here, because as always, the greatest thing about linking up with you guys is just the difference of opinions. And, I actually don't really know what Peeps thought about this movie. He's been pretty quiet about it since he saw it, and I think he's been saving it for the show, which I love. I know Frigginz was kind of like, meh. He was in the middle there. He was kind of like, maybe 3 stars. Like, it was cool, but I wouldn't care to see it again kind of attitude. I loved it, on the other hand. So this is what's really cool. I absolutely loved it. Frigginz is in the middle. I don't know where the hell Peep stands. He's probably going to be in between the both of us. and that's what's great, is we're going to dig into it, and we're going to talk about it. Going off the top here, since I just said I absolutely loved it. Like I said, I saw it twice. I saw it at opening night in IMAX, and it was just fucking glorious, and I just really dug the hell out of it. And then went back like 2 days later, saw it with my wife and my daughter, and I actually liked it even more the second go around. And I just saw it normal the second time, but I think sometimes with big movies like this, big sci-fi action CGI event movies like this, sometimes it takes that second viewing to really sink in. You go in with so much preconceived notions, and you're just hoping for so much stuff that first time you see it, that I think sometimes we maybe walk away a little like, even though I loved it the first time, I really, really loved it the second time, and I cannot wait to see it again. I think it was a great conclusion to the saga. 9 films, man. This thing has been Star Wars, this Skywalker saga has been going on my entire life, which is just insane to think about, a movie franchise that is stretched across 40 years. But I absolutely loved it. Thought it was a great ending. I'm going to roll over to you, Frigginz, just loosely your overall thoughts coming out of it, and then we're going to find out what good old Peeps thought. So Frigginz, lay it on us. Where does your mind stand on this coming out the theater?
I've really struggled with this one. When I walked out of the theater, I was at the point of saying that I just flat out didn't even like it. And I was, the more I was talking with the people I saw it with, and kind of expressing some of my opinions, and hearing what they had to say kind of made me look at things a little bit differently. I was like, yeah, I guess that's a good point. But all in all, I feel like it was a good time. There was some good moments. I had some good laughs, but I left pretty much underwhelmed. I won't say that it was horrible or it sucked or anything like that. But honestly, the more I think about it, I think the more disappointed I am with it. But with that being said, is it fun? Is it still going to make you laugh and have some cool actiony moments? Sure thing.
Okay, potty pooper in the house. Potty pooper in the house.
Join me on the dark side today.
He's definitely on the dark side today. Yeah, I don't know, man. The 2019 started Fred down a very dark path, and I can't wait to see where it goes in the rest of 2020.
You're gonna hate me after the top 10 breakdown. You're not even gonna let me do a podcast anymore.
Exactly.
We'll just name that episode "Get the Fuck
Out of Here."
That's the name. Yep.
Oh my God, I can imagine already. Okay, well, Peeps, I've been waiting to know. Unleash it on us, man. Where do you stand with the rise of Skywalker?
Oh my gosh, man! Like this movie has had me so torn, and it's funny because after I left and I had so many issues with it, I kind of looked it up, and we'll get into it as we go through the rest of this episode. But from what I understand, a lot of the issues that I have with it, I think J.J. Abrams and a lot of the actors also have issues with it. They're these last minute changes that Disney kind of made to the overall story and script, and it kind of shows. But anyways, in terms of thoughts and how I felt about it, I it's funny you said that, Dom, because I think I am literally right in the middle of you and Frigginz. Like, this movie was the best of times, but I also had a lot of there's a few eye-rolling moments. Stuff like that kind of takes me out of the movie, as Frigginz likes to say in his reviews. But there were some really good moments, and like there are even some moments where I got very emotional. And for a movie to get me that like caught up in it, bravo to the movie, and bravo to the actors and the story and everything else that they put together. So I it's the best of times, and it was the worst of times, and then we'll talk about it. But this movie also gave me, and I'll mention this a thousand times, this movie gave me probably my favorite character of the entire Star Wars universe, and we'll talk about that character.
Can't wait to hear who that is.
Hey! Spoiler alert. It's easy to tell with you guys. I knew when Fred said it, I was gonna be like, "It's the chick in the damn helmet." And
Word.
when Pete says it, it's gotta be my good old friend Babu Frick. So,
right.
So okay. Let's see, man. How do we even attack this movie? I mean, story-wise, we basically pick up. Who even knows, man? Like I heard way in advance that this movie was going to have a time jump from The Last Jedi to this one. And even though obviously some time has gone by, it doesn't feel like very much has gone by, to be honest. I wish that we would have kind of had some kind of window, but they didn't really tell us either. But bam, from the opening scroll, we find out Palpatine is back, right? Palpatine's been the puppet master all along. He's alive, and basically he's been just being the puppet master. He's been stringing along everybody on the dark side, and Snoke was his plan and his idea, but it was all Palpatine. And we start off with this like montage of like Kylo Ren just like fucking murdering people left and right, trying to find this weird little triangle thing that tells him how to get to the planet of the Sith. And basically it's the only way to get there. It's very hidden. He gets there. He's ready to kill Palpatine, who basically says, "No, don't do it. You need to wait, and I'll give you an army." And basically, all these damn ships come out of the ice, and it's a pretty cool looking scene. But I'm just like, man, who built all these damn ships underneath the ice?
Yeah, they're just sitting there in the middle of the ice for no damn reason.
Very weird, man. Very magical. Very magical. So, and it's a ton of ships too. It's not like we're talking about 10. There's probably like 500 ships that just come blasting out of this icy planet. So he says, like, do my bidding, bring me the girl, and this army is yours. But the girl is more than you expect her to be. And then we kind of go to the Falcon, and We got Poe and Finn, along with Chewie, kind of like going on this mission to find out some information from a spy on the First Order. Pretty cool action sequence with the Falcon, and then of course the ships coming after them and everything. So they get what they need, where they find out that Palpatine's back and he's got all these ships, and that was basically the decoded message that they got. Rey's training, she's still training, she's floating up in the rocks and shit. And then basically you see some Leia stuff, which let's just kind of pause there. I want to ask about the Leia stuff. So of course, as we all know, Carrie Fisher passed away before they started filming this movie. J.J. Abrams made the decision to say, I'm going to put her in the film, and I'm going to use basically deleted scenes from The Force Awakens, which is kind of funny to me because the funny part is that they never ever mentioned trying to use any footage from The Last Jedi. They just said, we're using stuff from Force Awakens, which I'm like, really? Like, you don't have any B-roll or any deleted scenes with her from Last Jedi that can maybe help out? Right. So you see her kind of help talk with Rey here and there. She's not in the movie a ton. I think it's a total of like 7 or 8 minutes screen time. But for me, it felt very awkward. I'll say that. Like, and I don't know if that's just because I know the situation, so I was kind of looking at it a little bit deeper. But I felt like it might as well have been a CGI character. Like, it was so robotic and stiff because they were just trying to, piece in something that could match and kind of go with the story. It's like
the lines, like you said, were so forced. It's like, wow, I will be one with the Force. Don't you agree I should be one with the Force? And then Leia will say, you will be one with the Force. Exactly. Oh, yeah, I agree. Like, come on.
Yeah, like, BB-8 chirps at her, and then she's like, don't underestimate a droid, and it's like, oh, we had to, like...
Came from nowhere.
Yeah, like every scene that they bounced back to her, it just looked like she wasn't there, and she wasn't with the person she was talking to, and I know that there was more scenes with her that they straight up said, the writer of the movie, Chris Terrio, said like they had a bunch of deleted scenes because they just couldn't get it to really work, because there was a lot of scenes supposedly with her and Rose, because I know a lot of people were bitching about Rose's role in this movie, because she was so big into The Last Jedi, and then this movie kind of sidelines her right when they go on the mission. They're like, come with us, and she's like, I gotta stay here and work on the computer, and then they're like, okay, see you later, and then you don't see her again like the whole movie. She pretty much
Jar Jarred her,
dude. Yeah. I think they said she has a total of like 1 minute of screen time combined, like total in this movie.
Wow.
Compared to and they even cut such a big role.
They even ignore the fact that there was a romantic relationship with Finn. I mean, how do you I just rewatched The Last Jedi, and like they literally shared a kiss, and they're just gonna be like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, he's like, come with us. She's like, I can't. I got to stay here because of Leia. And he's like, okay, catch you on the flip side, and like taps her on the shoulder and walks off. And you're like, weren't these two romantically involved in the last movie?
I think kisses in the Star Wars universe don't really mean as much as we think they do. I mean, again, Luke and Leia shared a kiss, so
that's fair.
Nothing really developed there. So
because they found out they were brother and sister. That's when nothing developed there.
That didn't stop the Lannisters. I'm just saying.
Oh.
But yeah, so I know that they were talking about why Rose has such little time is because there was other scenes with her and Leia back at the base that they were kind of flipping back and forth to, but I guess at the end of the day, the footage just didn't work, so they had to delete a lot of it out. So we were left with what we were left with. But I found it very, very jarring. It took me out several times. So just kind of throwing that out there if you guys want to add kind of anything else with Leia and the use of her. I appreciated her being in the movie, but it felt very odd and it did not really work for me.
See, I actually... Oh, okay, sorry, please. I kind of fell when I first heard that they were gonna force her into the movie again. I was actually initially really almost upset. I was just kind of like, come on, like you can write off her absence. Like there could be a reason that she's not around. Not even if they write her off as an off-screen death or something, but even just her not being present because she's taking care of something else or something. That was kind of my initial thoughts. But then after seeing it, even though there was a lot of problems with it and it didn't really work exactly as we all, I think, would like to have had it work, I don't know that the movie as a whole would have worked without her, because she's such a big factor, not only throughout Star Wars, but specifically within the last two, that I think that her presence had to be there. So even though some of the CGI was weak, when they did use some CGI, or when they tried to like force in a hug, it looked like that was a hug from another scene, and they were like trying to CGI in somebody else and like darken around the edges so you kind of blended or whatever. Like, even though that looked weird, I feel like in the end of the day, I think the movie is better for having left her in. Even if they did a full on CGI thing, I still think you need the character present, and just to wrap up the overall story. So even with this problems, this is one point in the positive direction that I would give the film, because I think it needs her.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like you, Don, it felt very much reminded me a lot of Fast and Furious. You know, when especially like at the end when they did that final little race scene towards each other, and it's just like obviously CGI Paul Walker, and it just it felt very forced, like you said. And I kind of disagree with you, Frigginz. I think that they could have done something to completely leave her out of the movie. I don't think she had to be in this movie. They could have done tons of things that, you know, in the story that did not include Princess Leia. Again, she's a general. Why does the general have to be in the face of everything? But, you know, whatever. But from what we got, I think they did okay with what they had. But yeah, it was very distracting. So yeah, not too nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because I'd probably rather have it in there than not have it in there, especially with the way some things play out later in the movie. But it was just kind of, I don't know. I expected that they could have pulled off of something a little bit better than what they did, but I'm sure they were very limited in what they had. So kudos for at least doing what they could do with it.
And even thinking about like that when Maz Kanata was like, oh, she's going to use the rest of her strength to do something. Like, how do you know? How'd you get that out of her going and walking away? I don't know.
Well, hey, she had some kind of like connection to the Force, because in The Force Awakens, remember when Rey was getting the lightsaber, Maz was there being like, yo, girl, go in there and get that shit, you know, like, so.
Yeah. She said she could sense the Force. She was Force sensitive. So basically, we're going on a mission now to find the other triangle Diddy thing. What the hell, the obelisk or whatever the hell it was, to find how to get to Palpatine. And they find out that there's a stain on this planet, another Tatooine-looking kind of planet, that they need to go get this stain. So they go there. There's like this little party going on, and then everybody finds out where they're at. Her and Kylo do that little mind meld kind of thing again. They talk, and she's wearing this necklace, and he rips it off of her. They're able to figure out, based on the necklace, what planet she's on. So they go and find where they're at. Where Lando Calrissian shows up and saves them. So a pretty cool scene there. My flying days are over. But
good old Lando.
It was good to see him. To give Leia my love. You should tell her yourself. But so they go on this thing. Basically, long story short, they find this ship that's supposed to have another thing in it. It doesn't. They end up in this fucking quicksand pit, which is a pretty cool scene. Where they come across this snake kind of thing, that's massive size snake, but it's hurt. And Rey uses her healing force powers, which we have not seen too often, and kind of a nice setup from The Mandalorian with Baby Yoda using his healing force powers in one of the episodes, which I had read that they had actually placed on purpose to actually set the precedent that it is a force power that can be done, because The Mandalorian takes place way before the Rise of Skywalker. So it shows that it is a power that the Jedis can do with the Force. So she heals the snake, and the snake is basically like, thank you, and he moves out the way, and they're able to get out the little sand pit. They find a dagger, and the dagger tells them where to find this other MacGuffin that we're searching for in the movie.
Basically.
Yes, it's a straight up MacGuffin. It's the Tesseract of the film. And
Right.
so they find out there is an inscription on it, and C-3PO reads it, but he can't tell them what it is because it's in Sith, and he's not allowed to tell them what Sith. He can't read it, basically. That is a lockdown in his instructions there.
Programming, yeah.
So they're like, great. So they go back to the ship. The Knights of Ren show up, and they end up getting Chewie, and they start to lock him away into a carrier vessel, and then Kylo shows up, and you see the scene from basically the first teaser trailer where Rey is running in the sand, and then she jumps over the ship and slices it with the lightsaber. Now the ship is taking off with Chewie, and she throws up her hand and tries to pull down the ship with the Force, which was a really cool looking scene. And then, of course, Kylo walks up, and he's trying to throw the ship back into the sky with his Force, and they're both battling and battling and battling, and then she shoots electricity out of her fingers and actually blows the ship up, and therefore, Chewie! And Chewie's dead, man. We blew up the ship. Chewie is dead. And I was like, damn, I can't believe they just did that. But it was really cool to see electricity come out of her hands. Because I was like, damn, she
Did you guys really think she was dead?
I did think Chewie was
I did.
dead. Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
I did.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I was like,
felt
he's
like
either
that
dead
was-
or he's going to, like, come out of the rubble, like, with his hair all burned off, like, skin buff Chewie. But, you know.
Dude, I don't know. That was one of the major eye roll moments for me because I was like, there's no way in hell that they're going to make one of their heroes kill off Chewie. Like, I don't want Chewie to die, but that would have been a cool way because it shows that struggle between, you know, what Rey's doing and all that stuff. But, like, the second it happened, I was like, there is no way that sticks. Like, there's something is going on. There's no way. Like, it hit zero emotion for me. Zero
You're a
emotion.
cold-hearted bastard. That's what.
It was just too. There's no way Star Wars kills.
I
off
was right
Chewie,
there
number
going,
one.
Chewie! Just like everybody else.
I just like rolled my eyes. I was like, nope, not even.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought he was, and it was because I had seen the movie a bit later than everybody else, and a lot of people did not like the movie, and I was thinking to myself, well,
why.
this is probably one of the reasons because one of the main Star Wars characters goes out like
makes
this.
sense.
If it wasn't like the last chapter in this franchise, I don't think I would have bought it. But because it was episode 9 and it was the last one, and they were killing off all the damn original people, come on, like everybody's fucking dead. So I was just like, well, might as well kill Chewie off too. Let's just end this shit.
If it was in Last Jedi, I would have believed it. Ryan Johnson was getting rid of everything Star Wars, but in this one, I was like, nah, there's
he
no
didn't.
way. There's no
I disagree
way.
with you, Fred. He did not.
He tried. He tried.
But I don't know. So like pretty much, you know, everything with what you were saying, Don, up to this point. I was liking it, but at the same time, as soon as they got to the the sand pit, and then they found the dagger, and they're like, okay, we gotta go someplace else, and I'm just like, why? Like, can we just like hang out for a while and just like
No, we got places to go, planets to visit.
aliens to see, characters to have peeps fall in love with? But I don't know.
Look at what your point. Like Return of the Jedi, they go to what's the Ewok place? Endor? And I don't know, I probably messed it up. Someone's like yelling at me. Okay. Anyway, and they stay there for the bulk of the movie. Like it's Endor in the ship for almost the whole thing. Like I see your point, Peeps. I agree with you, man. They need to hang out at a spot for 5 minutes.
But see, I like to explore strange new worlds. So I got a kick out of all the planets that they were visiting. Everything looked really, really cool. So I'd like to kind of change it up, you know. Although I do get the point, though. I mean, I heard somebody refer to some of the stuff in the movie as kind of like a bunch of cutscenes from a video game. And I was like, huh, that's a pretty good way to look at it, right? Because we got here, this is what we need to do. Now we're going to go over here. This is what we need to do. And now we're going to go over here. And this is what we need to do. So,
but then he destroys it. So then the whole point of coming here was actually pointless.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I thought the pacing was one of the biggest pieces of garbage of the whole movie.
I thought
The
the
pacing
was
that was going on was horrible.
Mm-mm.
I felt like I was on some kind of drug that makes you do things really, really fast. I don't know, speed. I don't know drugs. Anyway,
You're thinking of slow. It does the reverse.
Oh, it does the reverse.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, I mean, it was just like boom, 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 boom. For example, Don, you talked about in the first part of the movie where you see Kylo killing all those motherfuckers. That was the coolest scene for me in the whole movie. I was like, wait, what's happening here? Who are these cool looking dudes that he's just tearing to pieces? Like, this planet looks cool. What's happening? Like, I wanted to know so much more about what was going on there. But it was just beat. And the next thing you know, it's the end of the movie. And I was like, what? I was way too
That
fast.
was the coolest part of the movie for you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, man. I'm sorry for that.
So sorry for you.
So, I don't know, buddy. Like, I hear what you're saying, and I do agree with you. But then there's that other side of Peeps that is saying, like, I think in terms of pacing, they did a pretty good job because the idea is like they are, they have this mission and the Empire is right on their heels. So they can't really stay in one place for too long or else, they are going to be in danger of getting caught. So because of that link that Kylo and Rey have, like he literally knows exactly where she is almost at like all times. So they have to keep moving. Yeah. I don't know. So that I kind of, I followed it. But I could have done without it, if that makes sense.
I love the pacing. I thought the movie went at an awesome pace, and there was always something going on. I never felt like it lulled, and that's another reason why I really dig the movie. But going back to the spaceship blowing up, I will say when I saw it the second time, I was paying more attention, and I noticed in the second go-around, when they're loading Chewie into the ship after they handcuff him, there's actually a second ship right next to it. So it's kind of funny how our brains work, because the first go-around, I didn't even notice the second ship sitting there. But
yeah, I didn't see it either.
When I was paying attention to it, there was two ships side by side. So it's like, oh, they put them in the other ship. So it made total sense when you look back and watch it the second time. So I really dug that. So I was like, okay, because I remember being like, how the fuck is he on a second ship? How did we not notice that? Right?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So it was pretty cool. So Rey ends up sensing Chewie, so she knows he's alive. So they come up with this game plan to try to get him back. So they end up going to, what the hell was the snow planet that they go to with the chick like that you like?
Frigginz.
I called it
Fritos?
Snow Planet.
Fritos. So they go to Frito Land, and they basically meet this bounty hunter chick, played by Kerry Russell, and
Zori Bliss.
Zori.
Get it right, Don. Come on. She's the coolest new character.
You didn't know the planet, but you fucking know her. So.
Hell yeah, I know Zori Bliss.
So Zori Bliss on Frito Land shows up, and obviously she has a background with Poe. She's basically like this love interest that got away, and I guess she thought he betrayed her or whatever, blah, blah, blah. This was a part that I hated, because she wanted to fucking basically cut his balls off and chop his head off the second she met him. In the movie, and then like 2 seconds later she's like, here's my coin that I saved up my entire life to get the fuck out of here, and if you need anything, let me know, I'll be happy to fucking take care of it for you. Like, she flipped so fast into being like a caring character, when before she was like, tell me why I shouldn't cut your balls off right now.
I like the moment where she got in a fight with Rey, and she was like, you know what, you're all right, what I mean? Like, strong woman to strong woman, you're cool. But I completely agree with what you just said. Exactly.
Your guys are completely missing the whole factor that it's Oscar Isaac. When Oscar Isaac comes in the room, everyone's gonna be like, oh, it's Oscar Isaac. They're gonna do whatever he wants them to do. I mean, she couldn't withstand his charm and charisma.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Also, one thing that I thought was funny about her, though, as much as I think she was like the coolest new character,
second maybe third.
was that like they had to go out of the way to let you know that she was an attractive woman, because like they couldn't have just left her in the helmet, especially with the back end of the helmet all pointed. You thinking, was she an alien? Like, what's she look under that? No, we better open the slits so you can see,
They could have made her take the whole fucking thing off, and she could have whipped her hair around and been like, oh, it's so good to see you again. She opened a little fucking visor that just showed her eyes. I don't think that was that big of a deal.
I agree.
I disagree. I think they should have went to Boba Fett. They should have went like Boba Fett and didn't have the damn helmet get removed ever. But it is what it is. She's still amazing and my favorite of the movie.
I disagree. I appreciated the fact that they only did the eye visor because I was like, who is that? Is that Felicity? Yeah. Is that who's that actress? But I don't know. I dug it. I dig it.
Yep.
I like it.
Agreed. So the reason they go to this planet is they're looking for a hacker, basically, of the name Babu Frick, and he needs to basically code C-3PO to talk about what he saw on the dagger. So they find out he's this tiny little alien looking dude, and he was really, really cool. And I loved how the meme started immediately of like Babu Frick versus Baby Yoda, like who's the better? So he this is the scene you see in the trailer where basically his eyes turn red and he's all like taking one last look at my friends.
Right.
Because basically once they do this, his memory is going to be wiped. It's going to be like factory reset, Control Delete. Like let's wipe this thing, and so they do it, and he tells them where what the coordinates or whatever on the damn dagger where they need to go, and they're all good. And so Peeps, talk about this little guy. I mean, well, why did he strike such a nerve with you?
So I don't know, man. Like, okay, let me take a step. When you first see him, again, he's this teeny tiny little. He's so fucking
cool.
Adorable because he's got like this little mustache, but he's small, so he's like a grown ass. Again, he like the baby Kevin Yoda thing. He's got this adult, cute old man, little guy vibe going. And then he starts talking, and I'm like, did he say words or is he speaking an alien language? I was like, well, he's obviously speaking an alien language. But then, like, as he's like going and talking with them, he just, I don't know, like the way he just speaks like broken English, I guess it is. And I don't know, like there was just something about that little guy. Again, the way he talks, his little stature, I kept saying like I fucking love this guy, and I just tell my brother that was sitting next to me, I was like fuck Baby Yoda, like this guy is where it's at. And then at the end, when he pops up in the ship, that was like the cameo. I was like, okay, Wedge is there, that's fine, whatever. Lando's there, but fucking hey! I was like, yes, I was so stoked. Like,
which I missed the first time. I did not see that until the second viewing, and then I was like, oh shit, he's in the ship.
Oh really? Oh my gosh, I went nuts when
funny.
When I saw him that second time, I went nuts. And then, he's smart. He's a droid engineer, and he resets 3PO, and 3PO's like, hi, who are you? And he's like, hey, I'm Babu Frick. Like, he just, like, he's reintroduced. Like, he's just like this. Oh, fucking, sorry.
Human cyborg relations.
Dude, my jaw literally just hit the ground when you undercut Wedge, the hero of the rebellion, for Babu Frick. Come on, man. Wedge saves the day in the first. Get out of here.
I hear you, but like, again, kind of getting into my beef with it, it just seems like a Member Berries moment where he really had no reason to be there and he didn't do anything other than for everybody to elbow their friend in the shoulder. Hey, I think that was Wedge. Oh my God, do you remember Wedge? He was like the hero of like the first or second or third movie. I don't really remember. But
look at all the battles.
He didn't do anything. It was just
and all the people that have died. But Wedge is still alive.
He was like, good to see you, Lando.
Right.
He was like, get the fuck out of here.
I was hoping that Lando.
But what did Babu Frick do? He just goes.
He went, hey.
I'm talking about like story impact. I don't know. Babu Frick, he reprogrammed the droid that literally gave them the destination of the planet that they needed to be on in order to get further into the plot. What did Wedge do? Hey, hi, I'm sitting in the cockpit. A salute. I probably had like 50 lines, but they're only going to use one.
He probably took down like 50 planes just by himself. I'm just saying.
I would have liked to see that maybe, but another issue, like that was a really boring star fight that they had at the end of there. No. Anyways, sorry, DX. Okay. Come on, let's talk about the big reveal that we're about to hear pretty soon.
Yeah. So C-3PO gets rebooted. And so now we know where we need to go. But once again, Kylo gets into Rey's head, and they start doing their little virtual dance once again. And he's like, let me come to you. And she's like, no, you need to get out of here. And they're going back and forth. She's actually when this happens, he's down on the planet, and they're actually up at the actual ship. Because like I said, Friggin's girlfriend over here gave them her little coin that she needed to get away and live her best life, but she gave it to Poe. Which the coin didn't make much sense to me either. It's like, oh, it grants you access to land on any ship. Who gives a fuck if the second you land they arrest you? Like, it doesn't, like what the fuck is the point of the chip?
And also, as you pointed, I'll take that title, her being my girlfriend or whatever, But she got away anyway, so she didn't even need the stupid chip.
Well, I think the idea of the chip is that it basically makes your ship invisible. Like the Empire won't target it because they'll check the credentials of the ship, and your ship has a general access. So the Empire will be like, oh, okay, this is probably General Doopadoop doing a covert mission, so we're not going to fuck with this dude. So it just kind of gives you...
The second they landed, fucking stormtroopers came out.
Oh, yeah.
They were just aborting.
Yeah.
Because they just said prepare to be boarded. I think that wasn't like I'm going to, dig into your doors and see if you have any secret loot in here. I think they were just like, oh, we'll come and escort you down kind of thing. That's the impression I got from it. Because there's only two of them.
And they even said, like, whose ship is this? Like, what fucking ship is this? This don't look like one of our ships. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. But anyway, so they get there, and basically Poe and Finn go to rescue Chewie. She's like, the dagger's on this ship. I need to go get the dagger. So she goes to find the dagger, and she ends up in Kylo Ren's room. And basically she finds all the Chewie stuff, the dagger. As she's looking around, Kylo pops up. Hey, where you at? You're a hard person to find. Blah, 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 blah. And then they start kind of lightsaber fighting. And then it knocks over the stand that has the burnt Darth Vader helmet on it, and he sees it, and he's like, oh, you're in my room, get naked, let's do this. But he's like, I'll be right there. And so he jumps in the ship. He's like, they're on the ship, don't let them get off. So he gets up there. They rescue Chewie, but then they get held captive, and then you find out that the traitor is what's his face? What the hell's his name?
General Hux.
General Hux. From the first couple movies, and they're like, why are you helping us? And he's like, I'm not helping you, I don't care, I just don't want Kylo Ren to win the day. So Hux ends up letting them go, which is pretty cool, which just ends up getting him killed later on in the movie when they find out he's the spy.
I would have liked for General Hux to actually go with them. That would have been great, but it didn't happen.
Hux.
So
no way, man. He's such a douchebag. He killed so many people. Like,
I mean, so did Kylo Ren, but hey, he was nobody would have, right?
Yeah, all right. We'll get to that.
Yeah. So then we get Kylo and Rey face to face, and they're talking, and he's like, join me, take my hand, and she's like, I can't. And then he's like, you wanted to know who your parents were? It's Palpatine. He's your grandfather. You're the granddaughter of Palpatine. So that's the big reveal. Very much like, Vader being like, I'm your father from the original trilogy. That's the big reveal, is that she is Palpatine's granddaughter. That's why she obviously had the electricity fingers that she sparked earlier, that we've only seen Palpatine do. And she's like, ah. So then the Falcon comes up. She jumps onto it. They take off. And they head to the water planet to basically get the other MacGuffin that is in the movie. So they land there. There's some other people on the planet that are other stormtrooper type people like Finn that kind of broke away. So they help them out. Rey goes off on her own to the broken down pieces of the Death Star that is in the ocean now, and she tracks it. She finds the Emperor's room, and then goes into the secret passage, finds the little MacGuffin thing that we've been looking for, and then that's when the other scene from the trailer pops up with her evil self. The Sith version of herself with the switchblade lightsaber shows up. I wish they would have done more with that. It was very quick. It was just kind of like, oh, I'm here, slash, she falls out of the thing, and then Kylo's there. And I was like, really? That's it?
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a bummer because they made such a big deal of that in the trailer. I was hoping there would be more to it. Obviously, she's fighting herself this entire movie of, is she dark side, is she light side? Even though she doesn't want to turn dark, she's obviously feeling the pull to the dark side. But yeah, Kylo's there, which at this point I'm like, is Kylo even fucking really there this time, or are we doing this mind meld shit again? Because
so
I couldn't tell, dude. Because I was like, how the fuck did he get to this planet so fast, and how did he know where to go? And but I guess he ends up actually being there, and he smashes it in his hand, and he's like, the only way you're gonna get to this planet is with me. And she's like, fuck that shit. So then they start fucking lightsaber fighting all across the ship, which I gotta say, this scene I think is phenomenally fantastic. When they're fighting and the waves are crashing over and water is splashing on them, and they're just lightsabers all over the damn thing, doing flips and shit. Like, I was like, this scene, from a CGI standpoint, it's fucking flawless. Like, you don't see any breaks in anything in this scene. And I just don't even know how the hell they pulled it off. It looks so fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that scene compared to like the lightsaber scene in the Revenge of the Sith, where it's like lava and floating droids that they're in, and just there was just too much going on in the background. But this was so simplistic, like water, lightsabers, and fighting. Like it was very simple. And yeah, Don, like I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, one of my favorite.
Can I point out a negative?
Of course you can. I wouldn't expect anything less.
If we are this far into the movie and you're just now going to point out a negative, yeah.
Okay. So first off, I do agree that the scene was amazing. It looked really, really cool and really pretty. But while it was happening,
you're done. All right,
while
Don,
it was happening, I had the thought, and this is weird because it pulled me out of the movie. Peeps, you know how I hate that shit.
I know.
When I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, do I really need all this though?
Yes.
Like, it made me.
Of course you do. It's a Star Wars movie. Why wouldn't we want a lightsaber fight?
No, it made me think of the original movies and going back, and what was so special about them was the two characters and what was going on with the characters and fighting with them. And don't get me wrong, I love action and I want the cool fight, but it took away from really what was happening, and just to me was just kind of like, let's find an excuse to make a really badass scene, which don't get me wrong, that's really cool. But it really made me go like, the big fight scene in Return of the Jedi, it was just like dark. And you just see the glowing sabers and the silhouettes fighting, and that was an Empire, and then like whatever. It was super cool, and it was super simplistic, and it worked so well. And now they have to like, first we're gonna fight on this planet. Now we're gonna fight on this planet, and we're gonna come up with all these different ways to be like so crazy. Like, if to me it was more about being crazy than it was about being impactful. Like, if you're gonna have a cool badass scene, yes, give it to me, but give me a reason why they're there. Like,
impactful though, man. This scene is super impactful because they fight and she's giving it her all, and she even tires out at one point, and that he's about to strike her down, and she's just like, and then we get, of course, Leia, injecting herself into it, basically giving up the rest of herself to just basically be like Ben, to reach him one last time, which distracts him enough to where he drops his lightsaber. She grabs it and fucking stabs him through the chest with it. And then she's like, I did want to take your hand, and she's like, Ben's hand, so, yeah. I mean, dude, the scene is so fucking emotional and fucking packed with fucking goodness that I don't know what the fuck you're talking about right now.
Okay, Frigginz. Okay, let me break it down the way that I had seen that scene. At this point, throughout this movie, Rey had gone through a lot of struggles with her, dark side, light side balancing. It even got to the point where Finn was talking to her in the ship, and he's like, "Yeah, Rey, I know you. You're like a good person." She's like, "You don't know me. You don't know anything that I'm capable of." And I think it was right after she killed, quote unquote, Chewbacca. And then even that, some of our Star Wars nerds out there know that when you use lightning, you're actually tapping into the dark side. So the fact that the lightning came out of her hand, she was tapping into the dark side. And then when she made it to this planet and she fought that dark version of herself, and then when Luke fought the other version of himself, he, killed that other version, thus showing us, he defeated the dark within him. She did not defeat that version of herself. She was interrupted by him. And then on top of everything else, he says, hey, this one thing that you need, I'm destroying it. What now? Come at me. And she's like, fuck you, and then just goes at him. And that's, even Finn is like, Rey, come on, let's go, let's get out of here. And she's like, back the fuck off. And then, she pushes him away. So this is Rey, in my opinion, more attacking Kylo than he is attacking her. He has been in her way from the beginning, so she's kind of wanting to kill him, and she kind of does. And then she has that moment where she then realizes, shit, this isn't who I am, and then, heals him. But like, yeah, this to me, it did mean a lot. This was, I know this wasn't the end of the movie, and we're used to these fights being at the end of the movie, but this was basically the last fight between Rey and Kylo. This was their final battle. And I felt, I
think that should have been the final battle. And by the way, I'll just tell you that explanation you just gave was more emotional of an experience for me than watching the movie. So good job.
It did take two go throughs for me to get that, I will say. But
but watching it, I was too distracted by the prettiness of it.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's kind of the fault of the movie, but I think in all the other movies that we enjoy that end up kind of falling short, there's been so many hands touching this movie and re-editing it and changing the overall story that we don't, those feels that we're supposed to feel, it we're kind of confused and we don't actually get them because of the way that it's been delivered to us. I don't know. That's
I don't know. Sorry. It was a hella emotional scene. It was great. I really dug it. So she basically, like I said, jams the lightsaber right through him. He's dying. He's like like Miles Dyson, Terminator 2. And
exactly. Great reference.
And so he's getting ready to die, and like I said, she's like, I did want to take your hand. I wanted to take Ben's hand, not Kylo's, and she puts her hand over the scar and heals him just like she did with the snake. And it was pretty cool because the scar on his face goes away also.
Yeah,
which I thought was really,
noticed
really cool.
That the second time through. Yeah. I didn't catch that the first time.
So she heals him.
So he's good now.
I don't know about all that. She just healed his body. So she heals him, and then she takes his ship, and she's like, I'm gonna go end all this, and she takes off, and then we get a really cool moment where you hear, "Hey there, kid," and I was like, "No!" And Harrison Ford comes back for another cameo.
Eye roll.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I was waiting for this moment.
Get the fuck out of here! Seriously?
I was waiting.
This fucking scene was so great, man. I'm fucking holding back tears. This motherfucker just went eye roll.
I'm with you, Don.
That was one of my eye rolls.
Okay, well, before Frigginz goes and ruins this, I just want to set the stone. Fucking Kylo's there. The thing pans over. Han Solo is there, and he's just like, my son. He was like, you need to do what you need to do. And basically, they have this really cool conversation that really harkens back to The Force Awakens. And Kylo even says the same thing, like, I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I'm strong enough to do it. And he's like, I know you are. I love you. And he throws the lightsaber. And it was just such a fucking cool scene, man, because, to see the love there still from a father to a son, even though we all know what happened, and he's regretful for that, and his father still fucking is like, hey, like, you couldn't save mom, but we're here to save you, and it just, oh my god, man, what a fucking scene. And
DX, I will say also, man, like with that there was that moment where Kylo, he said, Dad, and then like his mouth was moving, like he wanted to say something, and then
he says, I know.
Han Solo does that classic Empire Strikes Back line with, I know. You don't even have to say it, like, I know. And gosh, like that was just so beautiful. I love that. I'm right there with you, Don.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my god. I don't know how the hell anybody with a heart could not appreciate what that scene gave me. And I just say kudos to JJ and everybody for pulling off that cameo, because I did not fucking expect that whatsoever.
Oh.
And you know, and I know,
No,
man,
definitely.
Harrison Ford after Force Awakens was like, I'm done, no more Star Wars, I'm out this bitch. You know, that's why he's like, I told JJ to kill me so I didn't have to be in all these fucking movies. You know, so you know, so I really did not expect him to come back. So kudos to Harrison Ford for taking one for the team and coming back and really just being that catalyst to turn Kylo back to Ben Solo, and getting us on the rightful path there. The first of the rise of Skywalkers as Ben Solo returns. So, okay, Frigginz, go ahead and shit all over it now.
And shit all over. Well, I just think it was lazy writing. I mean,
what?
It's the easiest get out of jail card. It's just like, oh, let's bring Han Solo back. Like, that's what's gonna make him switch back. To me, I thought it would have.
It probably would have been Leia, but she died.
Yeah, that would have made a lot more sense to me, and that I think would have been. That's what I think I was wanting, and obviously we can't get that because of everything that happened. So, but I don't know. I thought, for me, I want to see him change on his own will and his own realizations of what he's done. And I guess maybe that is that the symbolism of him like dealing with this in his head.
Yes.
But like, it's also confusing.
Yes, Han was not there.
He literally said, "You're a memory."
I know,
that's
but
what
you're not
it is.
real. You're not real.
I didn't like that they had to shoehorn him in there for. To me, it was no freaking reason. I didn't like it.
Okay.
I thought it was lazy. I thought you could.
Okay, Frigginz,
figure it out a different way.
Frigginz. Man, I would choke you with love if I was next to you right now. But it looks like I don't have to do that. You're choking enough as
Yeah,
is.
I'm choking as it is.
So like again, he says again, you're not real. You're just a memory. And then he replies, yeah, that's basically what I am right now. So like this is basically just showing us, because some people you like to see this artistic style of dialogue where this is basically the inner battle the inner struggle that he's going with. I mean, we've known from the beginning that he has been struggling with this light dark. Like he is like a good guy trying to be bad is literally the whole bit with him. And this is that moment that actually, you know, changes his mind. And it isn't just the conversation between him and his dad. It's everything that's built up to this point. Also that act of kindness that Rey had done. Like he was dead. She had killed him, and she used her energy to heal him back, you know, and then she made that statement, I did want to hold your hand, you know, I wanted Ben, and then fucked off. And then that's where he's like having that inner struggle with himself. He's been having it the whole time, but this is the final, this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. And again, I appreciate, instead of him just standing there looking into the ocean and then throws his lightsaber, again, we could have got an impactful scene with something like that. But I, like DX said, liked the fact that they used Harrison Ford, Han Solo, like returning to show us this struggle that he had. Remember,
because let's take it back to Force Awakens again, right? Because that was the whole thing, was when you see Kylo in Force Awakens and he talks to Snoke that first time, like Snoke is like, you're gonna have to interact with your dad. And he's like, are you strong enough to do it? And he's like, yes, when the time comes, I'll do what I need to do. And you know he's still struggling. And it's not until that moment on the catwalk there when they're face to face, when he says, you know, I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I'm strong enough to do it. That was his battle to go light side or fully dark side and commit to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he kills him committing to the dark side. So I love that this scene kind of replayed itself in this movie. And he made the other decision to throw the lightsaber.
There was a lot of lines from that scene too that they used in this. It was a call. The whole scene was a callback. I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I'm strong enough to do it. He's like, you can and you will, and he threw the lightsaber and he made that full choice to be like, I'm gonna go light side now. And switch back over. So it just I thought it was beautiful. No trope at all, but to sit there and harken back to that, because you can clearly see that was the turning point for him to turn evil in the first movie, and this was the turning point for him in this movie to go back to the light side.
I get the comparison and everything and the reasons why they did it, but I just feel like it's lazy. And plus, I think
You're
Adam
lazy.
Driver. Adam Driver is such a good actor. That dude can act the shit out of anything. Like that, you Peeps, you or one of you guys said about him just standing there staring at the ocean and then throwing it. Like any other actor, maybe not. But Adam Driver, he could have made that scene work, and I think it would have been more impactful and more emotional. But
I do, and they probably could have even shot it a little bit different, like maybe Endgame style, where like he's looking into the ocean and then everything goes black, and it's just him standing, in the darkness, talking to maybe the memory or something. Like I get it, but you say lazy. I'm pretty sure Harrison Ford got paid for this, so
yeah,
lazy.
True.
And
That's true.
they
Good
paid
for
a
him.
pretty penny,
Good
with
for
the
him.
scene and bringing them in there and lines and all that. But yeah, man, I like DX said, like I hear you, Frigginz. I trust me, I do. It does definitely. I could see how you could feel that it's like shoehorned in there, but I at the end of the day, I appreciate. I like Han Solo, and I thought I was never going to see Han Solo or Harrison Ford as Han Solo again, and then I get him, and then it's this emotional scene. It's not just a stupid. Again, he's like a one of the pilots. I don't know. Hey, I wasn't really dead. No, I don't know. But...
His force goes flying the ship. Hey guys.
Well, to close on the topic, I'll note that I realize that I'm like in the 1% of the entire population of people that watch this movie, I'm sure. But
maybe.
It is. It was funny because the whole theater, when they showed him, you hear all the gasps, like, but me, I was like, oh. That was the only. It was hilarious.
Cold-hearted
It was
snake. Okay, so moving on, we now go back to the island of Luke Skywalker, right, where we grew to love in The Last Jedi, and Rey is there. She's crashed Kylo's jet, and she's got it on fire. She's smashed it, everything. She's like, fuck this ship, I'm not going anywhere. And then she goes to throw the lightsaber into the fire, and a ghost hand catches it, and it's good old Luke, right? We finally see Ghost Force Luke. And it's pretty cool. He comes out and he says, that's no way to treat a Jedi weapon, which I love because this is the same guy that just chucked it over his shoulder in the last movie, right? I love that this movie was a big fuck you to Rian Johnson for everything Rian Johnson said. Fuck you to JJ in the second movie.
No, I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
So
Pretty
she's
funny.
like, I'm doing what you did. I found out I'm fucking a Palpatine. I'm not going to go evil, so forget it. I'm just going to stay here forever and die. And he's like, you can't do that. I
was wrong.
I was wrong. I needed to train you better. And he gives her Leia's lightsaber, which was actually a really cool scene. Because you're like, oh shit, Leia had a lightsaber, and they do this flashback scene of Luke training Leia, and they show like a young version of both of them kind of fighting in the woods, and Leia has the Force vision of Ben turning bad, so she gives up the lightsaber and says, nope, I can't do this, and hopefully I'll be able to save my son. So she gets the lightsaber. And now she's got two. And he's like, you're going to take both sabers to the ice planet, and you're going to fuck up Palpatine, and you're going to win the day. And this is something you have to do on your own. I already fought my fight. This is up to you now. And she's like, well, how can I get there? And, of course, he rises up the X-Wing out of the water that he crashed onto that planet with many, many, many years ago. So pretty cool scene there. She takes off and basically heads straight to the planet, and then also feeds the coordinates to Poe and Finn and all them, who have now regrouped. They are now in charge now that Leia has passed away, and basically they're thinking, hey, if we go to this fight, hopefully the rest of the universe will come help us out, but we'll see how it goes. And so they follow Rey over there. Rey, of course, goes to take out Palpatine, which Palpatine's grand plan is he's like, hey, you're going to strike me down, and when you do that, because of that hatred, we're going to merge, and you're going to become the Empress, and we're going to fucking rule the world, and the Sith will be back. And she's like, I will not do that. And he's like, yes, you will. And he opens the fucking roof, and he's like, if you don't do it, I'm going to kill all your friends. And she's like, oh, shit. So then she's like, all right, I guess I got no choice. And she's getting ready to strike him down. And then Ben shows up. Dun, 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 dun. And Ben shows up. He comes in. He's ready to get his ass whooped by the Knights of Ren. And then Rey, with the lightsaber she's about to strike down Palpatine with, lets it go, and then it ends up in Ben's hand. So then he's like, hell yeah, and then he gets to finally fight with the blue lightsaber, which is pretty awesome. Now, I do want to segue on a part that not necessarily a part, but something that did bug me in the movie in general, and that's the Knights of Ren.
Thank you. We agree.
The Knights of
Finally.
Ren was a concept that we saw in Force Awakens that I thought was really cool, right? It was that Ben turned bad, and he took some of the other students from Luke's academy, and they became the Knights of Ren, right? They became this really cool group.
Hell yeah.
In The Last Jedi, there's no motherfucking Knights of Ren. They're gone. I don't know what the hell happened.
They're on a mission. In Tatooine.
Okay, let's pretend that happened.
Or vacation.
And then,
maybe vacation.
So we go back now. We got JJ back. So JJ's like, man, give me my fucking Knights of Ren back, right? So I'm like, hell yeah, the Knights of Ren are back. These motherfuckers don't do shit in this movie. And then on top of that, it doesn't seem like any of them have any fucking force powers. Because I feel like they barely could fight. None of them had lightsabers. And I was like, aren't these supposed to be Jedi trainees? Like, I was really confused by the lack of these fucking guys.
I thought Kylo and the Knights of Ren hunted down all the Force potential people and killed them. So I'm like, all right, some Jedi killers. All right, there we go. But yeah.
It was like the only thing that was cool about the Knights of Ren was the Michael Bay shot of them on top of the damn
boy
cliff.
band shot on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick up my sword and I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna put it on my shoulder, and then I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna twirl real fast.
And then they show up for this fight at the end of the movie, and they just get their asses handed to them worse than the Red Knight soldier dudes that Snoke had.
This is what I think happened. I think the actual Knights of Ren in The Last Jedi, they kind of fucked off and they're doing their own like badass mercenary work throughout the universe. And then Kylo just hired a new group of Knights of Ren. They're like
awesome.
There were those red, guys from the Snoke's room. Some of those dudes. Yeah. And hey, you want to be in our new Knights of Ren band? And yeah,
you want to be in my super group?
Those guys put up a better fight than the Knights of Ren did.
Yeah.
That I hear you. But at the same time, I think the excitement for the Knights of Ren kind of faded with me after Force Awakens. Like, when we all was talking about those dudes, like, who the fuck are the Knights of Ren? Like, how do we get more of those guys? And we're so stoked about who they could pick. They were the Boba Fett, of that movie. They barely gave us anything, but they gave us enough to get us bloodthirsty about them. But over the next several years, I just kind of lost interest. And then when they didn't do anything, I was like, yeah, whatever. That's about right. That's about right. So I do see though how Frigginz you're pretty disappointed, because I'm sure you've been waiting ever since Force Awakens to see them do something. So
yes, those was like that was the most exciting thing I had going for me going into the movie, and also one of the biggest disappointments of the entire movie. So that was a big bummer as well.
Yeah,
but
no, definitely was. I just expected more, especially for people that were supposed to be Jedi trainees. And I'm just like, okay, these guys don't do shit. So Kylo basically whoops all their asses by himself, and then shows up to help Rey, and they're getting ready to lay a smackdown on Palpatine, and Palpatine starts to feel the Force out of both of them, and he talks about how, they're this dyad of the Force because of the two of them, because one comes from the lineage of Vader, and then the other one's a Skywalker, and the Palpatine, like, just the lineage between them is so strong that Force healing power that they did the whole movie starts to go into Palpatine, and he's able to kind of suck it out of them, and you see like his hands repair and his skin repair, and he's like, oh, fuck Rey, I don't need this shit anymore, I'll do it myself, I'm gonna be the Emperor now, once again, and basically pretty much almost kills the both of them, and he's feeling good, and he starts shooting electricity in the sky, and all the ships are starting to get ready to crash and everything.
None of them actually do, though.
No, which is funny. They're falling for quite some time.
Right. It was so pointless.
And so it looks like very, very dire times. And Ben starts to get up, and Palpatine's like, get out of here, bitch. And like basically flicks him off the mountain, and he goes flying. and then he's shooting the electricity back up in the sky, and then this is when Rey starts to open her eyes. And I didn't realize this the first time either, but in the second time I watched the movie, when you first see her in the movie and she's floating in the forest with the rocks and everything, she's saying, be with me, right? She's saying, be with me, be with me. And I didn't really know what the fuck she was doing. And then you get it at the end of the movie, she's talking to the other Jedis. Be with me, be with me. And then you start to hear the voices. We're with you, Rey, we're with you. And it's all the voices, man. Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, you know, fucking Anakin.
Whoever that was joined in too.
Babu Frick was there.
Yep.
Hey.
You know, you hear Luke, you hear everybody just, we're with you, Rey, we're with you. And so she gets up, and he's like, you can't battle the power of the Sith. And she's like, I can, because I have all the Jedi with me. And she's holding back his electricity with the lightsaber. And then she pulls the other lightsaber out and kind of does an X with it. And she's able to kind of bounce the power back at him, which fries his ass, and he like fucking blows the fuck up. And she wins, and it's awesome. And the ships all come back online, and they start taking down these Star Destroyers, and the whole damn galaxy shows up in the nick of time and start taking everything out together. Like 1,000 ships show up. It's a pretty cool moment with Lando in the lead, with Chewie and the Falcon.
Another eye roll. Come on.
I won't say eye roll. I'll say missed opportunity.
With all those ships, like all of them, did they have to do that many? It was so ridiculous. It was also, by the way,
man,
that
the whole fucking universe was fed up with the First Order, right? It's time to get their revenge.
The amount of bad guy ships, number one, was stupid. And then they overkill it with the amount of good guy ships, which was also stupid.
They should have all came out of warp speed and just started smashing into each other because there's so many ships.
Exactly. And also, as a side note, this was Endgame. They already did it. Like, the whole thing about...
Dude.
It's the same thing. It's
Frigginz.
like, on your left.
On your left.
Dude, Frigginz, I agree. Like, the Deus Ex Machina moment, like I knew it was coming, and Poe was like, that's
They're
it. We're going to lose. Yeah. We're going to lose. I'm like, 3, 2, 1, you know. And but I will say, like, I would have liked for another Endgame moment for us to see like callbacks to all the different rando ships that we've seen over the years. Like, what if like a little Naboo ship was like floating around, and then we got a freaking Cloud City orange dual pilot ship, you know, bopping up and down, and then maybe we got a Utini, you know, I don't know, like a Jawa.
When you have problems with Wedge showing up, but you want a freaking Jawa? Come on, Peeps. It's Wedge.
No, that's I'm a complete hypocrite with that statement.
Oh, okay.
Don't just give me Wedge. Give me Wedge, and then give me like a band of the.
I like it. And then even after that, when you know it's the whole "I am Iron Man, I am the Jedi." It's like the same exact thing. Whatever.
It really was, and honestly, like that's, yeah. I didn't really get it. What? Because she has 2 sabers. That's all she really needed to push it back. Like,
well, she had
and then
the power of all the Jedi within her. she
could have just did that with her pinky. Then I guess I don't know. But
looks cooler with his sabers, I guess.
I guess I also didn't get why she died after that. I didn't.
It's the same thing, man. All these motherfuckers only have so much energy, and once they fucking exude it all, they just pass the fuck out.
Oh, that's true. That's how Luke died. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's how they all fucking work, man. That's why every time Baby Yoda uses his powers, he fucking passes out for 10 hours. Like, it takes too much out of him. Huh?
I'm just kidding. I'm being an ass. I said he dies every time?
No, I'm not saying dies every time, but
no,
she had to use so much to take him out, like that she had to use up all her life force to do it. You know, just like how Leia used all hers to fucking save Ben one last time and fucking get through to him. You know,
so then does Ben use all his to bring Rey back?
Exactly.
Is that what's happening?
Yes.
Oh,
so
geez.
Did you not get that?
Spoiler alert. So she basically falls down and she dies at this point. It's kind of crazy. And then of course Ben comes crawling out and he's like, no, and he's holding her in his hands and he's like, okay, obviously Rey could fucking heal me. Maybe I could heal her. and he puts his hand on her and brings her back. And then they have their little moment and they kiss.
I roll.
And I roll the kiss. I was like, really? After all this, like we don't need the kiss. We don't need it. But then after that, she's like, oh, I'm so happy to see Ben. And he's like, yeah. And then he fucking dies and vanishes, poof, and his shirt just falls to the ground. So I mean, I think he had to use so much force power because she was actually dead. Everything else we've seen has been them healing people, which still takes a lot of energy, but I guess bringing somebody back from the dead, it was a life for a life, kind of thing. So he sacrifices his for her, and she gets to live.
Ooh, I just now thought about the whole Anakin bit. I need to prevent people from dying. Like, that's literally what he did. Like that, yeah. He brought somebody back from the dead. Crazy.
And it was a balance, too. A balance of the Force. Like Don said, a life for a life. It's equal.
Uh-huh.
Right. But yeah, I mean, come on. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get into too much, going to left field, but we pretty much finished the movie at this point. DX, I know you got some more things you want to cover, and I'll let you. But just on this moment right here, this moment definitely disappointed me because this bond that Rey and Kylo have had, throughout each movie, I've just wanted to know why. Like, why do they have this connection? And we don't get that. I feel like we don't actually get that answer, and it can't. I wanted something more. I think the answer is they're just both that strong with the Force that they're on a whole new level. But I was kind of hoping for a little bit more.
Whether in the Force, Palpatine explained this.
But like, what
the dyad thing? That it's all of the Jedi in one person, essentially, and all of the Sith in another.
So was all of the power.
The two of them together just had a connection that was stronger than anything else, and then that's why they could do things that the other Jedis couldn't do. They were special. They were a dyad in the Force. Like they were a special connection that just the two of them together exuded something different.
I know. I just didn't know why. And why. Like first, I thought maybe they were twins. Like that would make sense. Like that's why they have that connection. Or yeah, I know, but
And see, this is part of the problem in the movie is now you have to go and buy the books they sell to get the definition of what a dyad is. There's a book that has that definition out there now. There's also an explanation of the Knights of Ren. And they talk about them not actually being like followers of Ren. Like apparently, I guess the Knights of Ren had been a thing way before Ben came around. So, I think that's just, it's more of the world building that they choose not to explain in full detail in the film itself, but they expect you, as a consumer to throw more money at them to go out and buy like the additional materials. I'm sure some of it will be explored in comic books or novels, or, maybe we'll get some TV show spinoffs on the Disney Plus or whatever. But, it's just one of those things. I think that they give you a touch on it so that people like us can talk about it, discuss it. Someone can go out there, read it, give an explanation of it online, etc., and that kind of thing.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we win the war. We go back to the planet. Everybody's celebrating. We see Rey reunite with Poe and Finn, which I felt a very big connection to that scene when they're all hugging.
Huge.
That's
Huge.
another time I had to kind of wipe a tear away and was like, oh
yeah,
man. Like they were just so like, oh, we survived this thing and we made it and through everything. Another big moment too is and I can't remember which part, or if this happens at the very end or it's a little bit earlier, but when they do go back to that planet after Leia has passed and Chewie finds out and he's like, no! Chewie's reaction to Leia dying was pretty phenomenal, because once again, I mean, this is another dude that's lost all his friends and now he's lost pretty much the last person that he really knew, and man, hell of a scene right there. But so they're all celebrating, they've won the war, and then we kind of we fast forward a little bit and we see Rey land on Tatooine, and she goes back to Luke's home which we haven't seen really since the first movie. And she goes down and she's checking it out, and it's pretty much all covered in sand at this point. And she buries the two lightsabers in the sand there, which I was like, damn, man, what's she doing, man? She needs to hold on to those. Those were a gift. But she buries them there. And then she turns on her staff, and her staff has kind of a yellow, goldish lightsaber in it now, which is pretty cool. I wish we would have saw a little bit more with that. And then a lady walks up, and she's like, it's been so long since I've seen anybody here. Who are you? And she's like, I'm Rey. And she's like, Rey who? And she looks off in the distance, and she sees the Force ghost of Luke and Leia. And she says, Skywalker. I'm Rey Skywalker. And that's the end of our saga, man. She stands and looks at the sunset, and it's very reminiscent of the shot of Luke looking at the same sunset there on Tatooine. And we wrap. And that is the end of the Skywalker saga that started in 1977 with A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then, of course, we got the prequels, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and then leading into this newest trilogy here with Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and, of course, Rise of Skywalker. Man, 9 films, a culmination of this awesome, awesome saga for Star Wars. So, hell of a ride, man. Hell of a ride. So, final thoughts as far as this movie goes. Kind of roll it over to you guys. I think I've said most of my points at this point. Highs and lows as we kind of went along the journey. But anything else you guys want to touch on? Any other eye roll moments for Fred that he maybe wants to dig into?
I'm curious about that, yeah.
Because I'm sure he's got more. But yeah, I mean, I kind of roll it over to you guys to take it from here. Any other final thoughts on Rise of Skywalker?
What do you think, Peeps? You want the negative first so you can counter with the positive, or you want to go and stack on the positives and I can close on the negative?
I'm like in the football position, ready to go at you as soon as you say something. So it's you go.
Well, you talked about eye roll moments. Some of them you touched on, and I just wanted to revisit real briefly. I know we're trying to close out here, but the sand pit scene, I wanted to point out how stupid it was for them to have a sand trap that leads into a perfectly aired and ventilated underground tunnel. Like, what's the point of the trap then? I don't know. I thought that was kind of stupid. And then the healing power in general, like, I don't know why. When Baby Yoda does it, I was like, oh, that was cool. And then when Rey does it, I was like, man, why does everyone got to get new big old ass powers? Like, back in the day, Luke struggled to pick up a couple of rocks. And now, like, they're moving ships and whatever.
No. That's when he was training.
He struggled with the rock. I'm exaggerating, All right. And then one thing we didn't talk. Let me talk about this. C-3PO not having his memory erased was so stupid. I thought it was bold for them to say, "Oh, he's gonna have to have his memory." Like, we're actually gonna have an impact. Like, something is gonna happen that's gonna cause a long-lasting negative impact on one of the main characters, and that's for C-3PO to not have his memory. Like, he'll still be alive. It's Star Wars. They're not gonna kill him off, but like, for him to not have his memory was a big deal for me. And then they just were like, oh, well, no, R2-D2 will back him up. I was like, of course. So, yeah.
I do want to mention, too, the funny scene of fucking when they mentioned Babu Frick and C-3PO went, oh, my oldest friend.
Yes.
That's one of my oldest friends.
So funny.
That was great.
One of my biggest. There he is. Nicely done. So one of my biggest complaints from not only this movie but also The Last Jedi was this whole new stupid power about the transferring of stuff, like that memory discussion, cell phone talk. I thought was the dumbest thing in Last Jedi, and I thought they made it even worse in this movie. I hated the fact that they could transfer items across the entire universe to each other, and then it's just explained off because they're part of the dyad. Whatever. All those is a couple eye roll moments for me that I wanted to throw out there, and I will close on my last eye roll moment. There's probably more, and I've talked about some of them throughout. But
hey, just so you know, you're where they do that wrap up thing. You're wrapping yourself up here. No one's forcing you off, buddy.
I feel like the time pressure. So okay, maybe slow down a little bit. because I have a couple more things I wanted to point out other than the eye roll moments. So that's why I'm trying to go fast. And then the last one was the Skywalker last name. Like, somebody explain that to me. That just makes no sense. Like, she just picked it. Like, you know what? I like the Skywalker name better, so I'm gonna go with that one. Like, obviously she wasn't go with Palpatine.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, like the Skywalker name, as you remember from the other movies, like it's legendary. It's a legendary, and if she's going to continue with the Jedi and the way of the Force, what better way to do it than to use the Skywalker name? Yes, there's some bad in it, but there's also like a lot of good in it. And I don't know, that's when she went back to the to Luke's home, there's just some Skywalker nostalgia from Leia and Luke. Like, that's all she knows. She doesn't know about Vader, or she does, but like she just knows of the goodness that Luke and Leia had shown her. So like she just wants to pass that on to the next generation. So she's going to use the Skywalker name to help pass on the good that she had.
Her looking over and seeing the Force ghost of Luke and Leia, watching her and smiling and nodding in approval, was just that thing that she needed to be. Like, she found herself at that moment. Like, I'm a Skywalker. Like, like I've seen so many things, to be honest. If you look through social media, a lot of people on Twitter that are adopted, foster kids, that just connected so well to that scene where they were like, like, I don't know my real parents, like they were assholes. Like, they dumped me, they left me, and now this other family took me in. And so, yeah, my last name is theirs. I'm not full blooded. I'm not the part of that, I'm not part of that lineage, but that's my parents. Those are the people that took care of me. Those are the people that taught me. So I'm proud to be X, And when I read it from that standpoint, I was like, man, that's really fucking awesome that it was a sense of belonging. And that's what she had, man. Like, she never knew her parents, and the people that took care of her were Leia and Luke teaching her the ways. So, her having that connection and finding herself and saying like, hey, I have a name now, and it's Skywalker. It was a perfect wrap to something called the Skywalker saga, to really bring it all the way around. So, I mean, I thought it was awesome.
Well, that explanation is fantastic. I mean, I think that definitely makes you look at it in a different light. But I think the problem is that the movie doesn't convey that kind of message. At least it didn't to me. And I personally didn't see anything wrong with her just being Rey. Like, I wanted her to be like, I'm just Rey. Like, she is herself. She is who she is. Like, that's what I thought the whole message was going to be, about her being her. And so for her to take on the other name, I didn't get that. But the fact that that's hitting people in that way, I think that's great, and I think that's a good message there.
And Frigginz, I'm thinking you're kind of going into this the same way that Peeps goes into the majority of the X-Men films. I mean, I think you're going into it with a sourpuss face on it, and then as the movie goes on, and yes, as you do experience those eye roll moments, you're just like kind of closing your mind to like, what is this scene really saying? Where again, you've told me sometimes, Sean, you just gotta shut off your brain and just gotta go with the flow, bro. Don't. Yeah, it could have been better, but sometimes you just gotta go with it, man. So Frigginz, sometimes you just gotta go with it, man.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're doing here, but again, I went into this movie hyped, man. I did think it was going to be good, and it wasn't until like walking into the theater that I started getting concerns, just because I've been hearing a lot of negative feedback, so I started to get a little worried. But up to that moment, I was pretty stoked for it, and I even thought it was going to land on my top 10 of the 2019. So I was very, very kind of ready to see the Knights of Ren and what else they were going to throw at me. But I think overall, I walk away thinking, I look at it as a piece of work that was completed, and it feels choppy. It doesn't feel really well done. I told you, I thought the pacing was crap. I thought some of the dialogue was crap. I thought some of the story decisions was crap. And you mentioned it earlier, Peeps, when you talked about how the company got in the way of the creating of this overall story, and even stepped on JJ. Stepped all over JJ and caused him to not be able to do some of the things that he originally wanted to do. So I think it shows, and that's the problems that I have with it are really a structural standpoint, and then it stands off from those kinds of decision making where you have some person way up high in a corporate office who says, well, I don't want to do this. I wanted to do this because it's going to make, more money, or it won't make us money if we do this or that. And they just start forcing in their own ideas to stomp all over, something that probably made a whole lot more sense. Yeah. And we can't get past that. That's the way the world runs. But although I had a lot of complaints and I really went a little overboard on the dark side of this, I still had fun with it. I did think it was enjoyable. I was talking crap about the water scene, but that scene was beautiful. It was an amazing action scene. I really enjoyed the driving away on the like speeder bike, carts or whatever they had.
They fly now?
Yeah. That scene was was great. That probably ended up being my favorite. I really wanted more of that opening scene with Kylo fighting those weird dudes, but other than that, that scene was probably my favorite, the funnest scene of the movie. And I also liked the new characters that they introduced, but Zori is better than your little buddy.
What? Whatever. Yeah, man. And I mean, I'll go ahead and take the mic. Thank you for handing it to me right now, Frigginz. But no like I said, this movie has a lot of faults. I will admit, but this movie has very much of a Age of Ultron feel to it, and I say that what's his name? Joss Whedon has stated that he will never do another Marvel movie because of how much they actually changed his movie. The kind of same thing goes with the Justice League movie. The studio goes in and they change their version of the movie to what they think we want to see. And I think the same thing goes with this movie. And I don't know, which part of it was J.J. Abrams, what part of it was a rewrite from the studio, and I don't know. And because of the two,
I don't think the studio had much involvement in this, to be honest.
I've seen things that J.J. has said he will never work with Disney again.
What? And there's been leaked reports that have been coming out.
There have been some leaked reports, but they come from fucking Reddit, which is not a very viable source. Always trace your sources. Anybody could write up some shit on Reddit and be like, well, there was a director's cut that was 3 hours long, and it was this, and that. As far as I know, fucking JJ had a great relationship with fucking Disney. There's a reason why they went back to him when they needed to do this movie, because they had no trouble with him when they made Force Awakens. He wrote the script. He put this movie together. So, I'm sure there might have been little things here or there, but I don't think it's as big as some of these articles are kind of cracking it up to be. I don't think that there was this master JJ cut that got screwed up by Disney.
Sure. Yeah, and yeah, I hear you. And again, you're completely right. You're my resource, Don. You're my source, so I'll go from what you say. But I mean, overall, I did enjoy it. Again, as I said before, I think there was a lot of missed opportunities. I would have liked for the Emperor to not be in the movie at all. I feel like, again, from the very beginning of the movie to where he, with his hands, resurrects an entire. It's like he brought some ships back from the dead that they just built them underground. I don't know, but okay, we have like you said, 500 of these planet destroying ships.
They all have Death Star technology on them.
Yeah, they spent all that time building that Star Killer base, and fuck, we had these things the whole time. And then the whole oh yeah, I killed Snoke, I made Snoke, and I thought he was just being kind of figuratively speaking, he, helped train Snoke. But then 2 seconds later, you see 6 Snoke clones inside of a. You literally made Snoke. What, they got a Build-A-Bear Snoke workshop that you guys are working on? Or
that was awesome.
A Build-A-Bear Snoke shop.
I don't know, man. What the fuck is happening? But no, we're not going to talk about that. And I do feel, I feel that there were some shots taken at The Last Jedi, and I feel that there were some nods. I feel there were some nods.
Dude,
I do say
I'm
that
telling
there's some
you,
nods to The Last Jedi.
Force Awakens came
So,
out, then Ryan Johnson did Last Jedi, and he said, fuck JJ and what he did with Force Awakens, I'm going to make my own fucking movie. And then fucking JJ comes back and he goes, fuck Ryan Johnson, I'm going to make my own movie. Everything
yeah.
they did in those first two movies, they counteracted each other.
Right. I mean, even down to the end of the movie, like the whole point of the, Last Jedi is like we are literally on our own. Like this little ragtag group that we have right here. This is it. It's us versus them, and there's barely any of us. And then this movie happens, and it's like, oh wait, the whole universe. It's now the whole universe versus them. It's like, wow, that's two completely different. I don't know. But I loved, and again, like you said, Don, I loved that moment when Rey, Finn, and Poe kind of like held each other at the end. Like I fucking felt it. Like we've been through so fucking much, and we finally finished. Or did we? Because every time you destroy the Empire, they just come back like
Right. There's
even
like a
stronger.
section of them off to the corners, being like, no.
They are so fucking Hydra. I think they should be in the MCU, but whatever. I thought it would have been a better movie if they would have kind of focused on. I was kind of hoping that we were going to go towards that actual balance. When you think about balance in the Force, I don't think that we're just going to completely destroy the dark or we're going to completely destroy the light. We're going to implement both sides. We're going to embrace the dark side of us, and we're also going to embrace the light and create like a peace. And I thought that's what Rey's character was going to do. We were going to get our gray Jedi, a thing that people know from the expanded universe, and a person that is not one or the other. They're just a perfect combination of the two. And I didn't get that, and I was a little bit disappointed with that. I don't really know where we're going to go past this, and that's fine because this was the end of the chapter. So we're probably never going to see these actors again until they're like in their 60s or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah,
but,
right.
I just wanted more with the characters. I less
Are you Rey
Rebels
Skywalker?
versus yeah that. And she's like, who? Oh yeah, I am Skywalker. Yeah. Oh we're using our fake names. Okay, hey.
Superhero names.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've how many movies have we done Rebels versus Empire? And I just would have liked this movie to be, of course, keep that element there, but let's just kind of focus a little bit more on maybe our characters and things that they, like issues that they've had, and even the whole Palpatine, like Frigginz we have a problem with names being the source of the character's power. Kind of with the I know you haven't seen this, Don, but the Fantastic Beast movie, there's a name that you find out that a character is actually related to another character in the Harry Potter universe. You're like, oh, okay, so I'm supposed to care because they carry this person's name, and now they're all of a sudden stronger than anybody else. And the whole power of a name, and you're a Palpatine. Like, why couldn't you just be Ray Smith? I don't know. And you're a Palpatine, and you're going, my son was weak, and you're going to be the next source of what? Just fucking have your spirit travel into Kylo. Just do it right now. You could do it right now. I don't know.
And the fact that they are making us think that only the Palpatines can use electricity, but Count Dooku used electricity. So it's like, was he Palpatine's son or something?
No. I didn't get that only Palpatines can use Palpatines can use electricity. I just like when you tap into the dark side, that's when you can use it, and that's probably why we hadn't seen it come from Kylo, because he had that good struggle within him. I don't know, maybe, possibly. I'm kind of reaching here, but like I said, I mean, overall, I could, like Friggin said, I could probably go on and on about like little teeny tiny moments of the movie that either bothered me or I really, really loved. Yay! But overall, like, I did have a good time. I wanted to see Star Wars. Unfortunately, I'm spoiled with the MCU and everything that they've done. They're able to give me a great story along with acting and special effects and just get me wanting more and put tears in my eyes along with laughing. And they're able to do that. But unfortunately, I was kind of hoping from that with this movie, and I didn't necessarily get it, and that's okay, because I mean, Star Wars is Star Wars. You know, there's a civil war within Star Wars, right? Like especially with the Last Jedi. Like Star Wars fans, we all want different things. Some group of fans want lightsaber battles. Another group of fans wants, story and dialogue and expansion into like the greater universe that is Star Wars. And other people just want to hear the word Skywalker like all throughout the entirety of the movie and see what else is Skywalker going to do. I don't know, but the end of the day, like I said, I was happy, and I'm sure we'll get into our star rating. And I don't know, DX. I know Frigginz and I are ready to show where we rate this movie in terms of the overarching world of Star Wars. But
there's 11 of them.
There's not 11 of them. It's not how you do
there's
it.
There's 11.
Right? We're talking Skywalker Saga, which is 9 films. All right, Rogue One and Solo do not count in the overall saga that we are discussing right now. So you're going to have to figure that out.
So no Solo, no Rogue One. You're going to cut out 2 of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kylo was a Solo, so it's kind of like a solo Skywalker saga.
Skywalker Saga. The 9 main films of the saga, which I do not have a ranking of. But because I had a feeling we might have done this, but nobody warned me and nobody talked about it, so I'm glad you both discussed it between yourselves and then came to the show with it.
Sorry.
Oh, no, I just have it on my letterbox. I rank like everything.
So go ahead and let's talk. What I want to do first before we go through the whole thing is I was looking forward to your star rating and then ranking these 3 films of this trilogy between Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. So seeing where it lands there for you guys. So Frigginz, let's go.
All right. So for just these 3, definitely that's easy for me. The Force Awakens #1, Rise of Skywalker #2, and Last Jedi way at the bottom at #3. If there's lower than 3, let's go there.
Then what's your star ranking?
Oh, star rating. Like I said, I know I brought the negative to the podcast episode here today, but I still had fun watching it. I did enjoy some of those scenes. As I said before, I did laugh. I didn't get much emotion, but there was a lot of cool things to my visual experience. So I can't give it a super low score. I give it a 3, pretty much right down the middle. It was good. I had a fun time. Everything that I didn't like about it and all of my problems and all of my beef really boils down to the fact of it was all preferential problems. So things that I just wish had been different. So for that reason, I can't ding it too much. So again, give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. Peeps.
All right. So the question is ranking the new 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I will say that my favorite movie of the new 3 is Last Jedi. I actually watched it before we recorded this evening, and I found myself loving that movie just as much as I did before, and just kind of appreciating everything that they did in it. So Last Jedi, and then I would actually say Force Awakens, and then this one. So yes. So
and your star rating?
Star ranking, man, like this is difficult for me because again, I know you don't like to do decimals, DX, so I'm trying to stay away from that, my man. And to say again, 3 means it's good. Yes. 4 means it's great, and then 5 is just like a completely perfect movie. And like with that thought,
I wouldn't
process,
necessarily say 5 means it's perfect, just that you got what you wanted out of it, and you were very, very thrilled leaving the theater.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, like I'm right there at 3.5. I'm saying it.
3.5.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Half stars are okay.
I really enjoyed it. I really did, but there's just so many things like
I don't know. I feel like you're more of a 4 based on the the 2-hour conversation we just had. So I don't know where this 3.5 is coming from, but
and again, man, and I watched it a second time and I enjoyed it, and I'm going to buy it when it comes out, and but there's just those little teeny tiny things, like I don't know, the whole villain of the entire movie. That just bothers me. Why does he have to be there? Why is Papelstein alive? I don't know. I guess anybody can fall down a a, a a tube and explode, and then have the entirety of the Death Star explode, and be like, "Yeah, I'm good."
Well,
He must have did a
totally
lot of
good.
push-ups.
He was on like a life support machine for most of the movie.
True, and he lost a couple fingers. You're right. He did lose a couple fingers. So, I don't know, man. You're right though. Like I'm feeling like it's a 4, but then the fucking Babu. Gosh,
Babu alone should
I don't
put you
know.
at a 4. Just for that
I don't know, dude.
Just for that
Zori really helped. She helped bump mine up to a 3. Otherwise, I was thinking 2.5.
Speak
This-
now or
and
forever
then-
hold your peace.
Oh my gosh, I can't. It's just I gotta see it like 3 more times.
Okay. Well, I would give it a 5 out of 5 because that's how I roll, and I loved it coming out of the theater. It's exactly what I wanted out of it. Was there things I would change? Yes. Like I said, I don't look at it as a perfect movie whatsoever. You've heard my gripes as we've gone along. But I got a hell of enjoyment out of it. I felt good coming out of it. It gave me emotions, and it wrapped up a story that I've been following my entire life, and I absolutely loved it. So 5 out of 5 for me. And when I ranked the new trilogy, I actually would put this one number 1 for me. I think it's the
Wow.
best out of the
Interesting.
3, and then I would go Force Awakens, and then I would go Last Jedi. And I did rewatch them all recently too. Before I saw it the second time,
Same.
I really wanted to do it before I watched it the first time, and I just did not have time to do it. So I saw it that first time in IMAX, and then over the weekend, I watched Force Awakens with my daughter, and because we were going to all go as a family, so I wanted her to kind of get familiar again with these characters, so she knew what was going on when we went to the movie theater. And so we watched Force Awakens on Saturday, then we watched Last Jedi on Sunday, and then we went and saw Rise of Skywalker on Monday. And I think it helped a lot. It was really cool to have that fresh in my mind. And I love all 3 of these movies. So once again, ranking, this is kind of what we talk about when we rank the MCU films, right? We're like, hey, it's number 15. Doesn't mean it sucks. It just means like it's just
Exactly.
other movies were above it. I
Exactly.
love all 3 of these. Force Awakens was great to kind of come back into this world, see people we know and love, and then also take it further along. Last Jedi, I don't really get the hate beyond that film because I love it as well, just like you said, Peeps. I mean, it's not my favorite, but I love that film. It's got so many cool moments in it, and I had a great time with it. And then this one here just gives me everything I want. I mean, it's just I like when a movie just kind of gets to get going and there's really no ramp up and everything's where it needs to be and we're just going balls to the wall, and that's what I thought this one was. I realized when I was thinking through how I was ranking these films earlier today that I'm a big fan of the third film in each of these sets. Out of the original movies, Return of the Jedi is my favorite. Out of the prequels, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite, and out of this one,
Interesting.
Rise of Skywalker is my favorite. So the third film in each of the trilogies is my favorite out of the bunch, which I
That
thought
is
was pretty
hilarious
cool.
that you say that, Don. I am not kidding. Like the second one is my favorite in each of the trilogies.
Attack of the
That's
Clones,
and
is
I'm
your
all over
favorite?
the place.
Huh?
Attack of the Clones is your favorite?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow,
Interesting.
I don't think I know anybody.
That's funny because in the prequels, I like Revenge of the Jedi or Revenge of the Sith the most.
Yeah,
And then in the originals, I like Empire, and then in this one, I like the Force. So I'm 3, 2, 1.
that's awesome.
And one last thing I just briefly want to mention about this movie is, so I did not like Last Jedi at all. Like I thought
Obviously.
the first time
You said
the
it's
first
number
time
3, and if it could go way farther down, you would.
Yeah. Exactly. I did not enjoy it at all. I recently rewatched it, and I will say I did like it more watching it the second time. But it's funny because watching Rise of the Skywalker actually gave me a little bit more of an appreciation for Last Jedi because I was reading something online about Ryan Johnson and saying how, he didn't like that Disney didn't want to challenge its fans. And I actually have a little bit of an appreciation for him because he did challenge us with trying to give us something we didn't necessarily want, but trying to give us something we didn't expect. And whereas watching Rise of the Skywalker, I realized this is a movie of them giving us exactly what the fans think they want, but maybe we don't really want that. I don't know. So I thought it was really interesting, and it was just something else to think about. But I do have a little bit more appreciation for Last Jedi now.
Very cool.
All
right. Well, I guess before we sign off, let's count down all 9 of these films. I'll try to do it off the top of my head when we get to me, but I'll go with you, Frigginz, first, and let's roll it down.
Oh man, you picked me first. I was hoping you were going to pick Peeps first because I had to pull up my list. But in the meantime, I'm trying to really drag out this statement while I'm looking up my list.
That's fine. I could just roll to Peeps and we could go, and then
no.
I'm good to go now. I'm good to go now. So, my favorite Star Wars movie of all time is Empire Strikes Back. That one gets my number 1 spot. Oh, I'm supposed to start backwards and go whatever. Number 2 was
spoiler alert.
It'll probably be easier when it gets to me since I'm doing it off the top of my head to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anyway,
fair enough. Favorite Empire. Then number 2 would be the original Star Wars. Number 3 is Return of the Jedi. Number 4 is The Force Awakens. Number 5 I have to skip. Number 6 I have to skip. So then the next one would be The Revenge of the Sith. Then Rise of Skywalker. Then Last Jedi. Then The Attack of the Clones. And then Phantom Menace.
Okay. Peeps.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so all right, so which way are we going, DX?
You can start at 1. Let's just go. Make it easier.
All right. I agree with Frigginz. My number 1 favorite Star Wars movie of all time is definitely Empire Strikes Back. My number 2 is Last Jedi. Then it goes to the original that brought us everything, A New Hope, number 3. Number 4 is A Force Awakens. Then we go Return of the Jedi. And then we go Rise of Skywalker. And then it's the prequels in the order of 2, 3, 1. So, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and then A Phantom Menace. Pretty low, but again, it's not like the worst. It's not like the worst movie ever. But yeah, not too much of a fan of the prequels. So.
Okay. Let's see here. I was not ready for this.
You could do this, Don. You could do it.
Yeah. So. Number 1 would be Return of the Jedi for me, just from that classic old school vibe. That was always my favorite, going back to when they originally came out. So Return of the Jedi would be number 1. Number 2 would be Empire Strikes Back. Number 3 is actually going to be Revenge of the Sith for me, and then number 4 would be the original Star Wars. Then, let's see. Then I would go with Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace.
Okay.
Awesome. That actually surprised me. I actually do appreciate the Return of the Jedi being number 1. Like as a kid, that was the first one I saw because, they had come out before I was born and everything. So, and of course, Boba Fett's my favorite. So I give you a lot of props for having that one as your number 1.
Thank you. Yeah, I just, Return of the Jedi for me just always stuck out in a different light just because I felt like it was such a different looking one compared to the other movies, I don't know. It just had a different feel, a different vibe to it. And once again, like I said, I like the third movies in these sets because I'm a guy that just I like when the story just goes. Like there's no build up, right? Like in the original trilogy by Jedi, Luke is already a badass Jedi, right? He's got his green lightsaber. He's fucking ready to rock. Fucking, he's got his powers. It's like, let's go fuck this shit up, right? So it's like, there's no real build up. There's no setup to get to it. It's just, let's go. And then in the prequels, it's the same thing with Revenge of the Sith. It's the build-up. It's Anakin turning evil. It's the Emperor showing who he truly is. It's fucking shit up. It's killing the younglings. It's fighting Obi-Wan. It's that build-up. It's just let's go. There's no more of that slowness of the first couple. go there. And then same thing with Rise of Skywalker. It's like, okay, Rey's got her powers now. We already know who the team is. We know who everybody is. Snoke is gone. Kylo's fully bad. Let's go. So it's just, I don't know. For me, it's like, that's what I really love about this franchise is just those third movies are like, we've built up so well in the first two. By the third movie, it's like, let's just rock it and let's go. And that's
True.
what I really dig. And I think that's why the thirds in each of the three trilogies stand out for me.
I have a question for you guys. Is Finn Force potential?
Yes, he's Force
That's
sensitive.
what he was going to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what he was going to
Force
say when he told Rey, if we die, there's something I want to tell you. And then he never gets to say it. But JJ did do an interview, and of course that came up and said, what was Finn going to say? And that was just, he was going to tell her he was Force sensitive. They kind of show that, though, when she comes back to life after Kylo brings her back. Finn is
right.
They show Finn and he's like, Rey? Like he can feel her come back to life at that point, So they've been kind of teasing it, and that was also kind of going back to Force Awakens. It was kind of what taught him inside to like put the gun down and not do the things he was doing as a stormtrooper, stuff like that. Okay. So, so pretty cool. Just showing that you don't have to be a Jedi to be Force sensitive, kind of like Maz,
True. Yeah.
And chew it. I am one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me. That dude was awesome.
Oh. Fuck that movie, Fred. We don't have to talk about that movie.
Awesome. The movie's so good. Best Star Wars, because there's no Jedi.
That's what makes it the worst.
No way, that makes it the best.
Dude, you're like a Star Wars movie without the main thing that I want to put in it. Yes, and we got to save that for another time, another day. We've been on too long, and we got to wrap this baby up. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Shout out to my boys Frigginz and Peeps. Hey, where can the guys find you online?
Frigginz.
Okay, I'll go first. So mine's real simple. It's Frigginz. It's at Frigginz. Frigginz. Frigginz with a Z. That's on Twitter. That's on Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram, but also on Twitter. So both of those work.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And you can check me out. I have a show called The People's Forum. It is almost back up and running. And, yep, that is the thing. I am For My Peoples on the Twitter. That's number 4 My Peoples, I think. Yep, for sure. And, that's about it.
All right, there you go. Follow them on Twitter, For My Peoples and Frigginz, and join in on the conversation. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in to this very first 2020 special edition of Am I Still on the Air, as we talked all Star Wars Rise of Skywalker spoiler review. And the three of us, be back very soon, hopefully within the next week or two, as we get ready to do our annual countdown of our top films of 2018, and of course, what are our most anticipated films of 2020. So it's going to be pretty cool.
I got some shockers for you guys.
Oh, I can imagine, man. Too bad Crazy Rich Asians doesn't come out this year. But, but I'm sure maybe that Aquafina movie will fill the void for you this year.
Dude, it was so good.
Oh,
it was so good.
All right, well, that's coming soon. Keep an eye out for that. That'll be our next Am I Still on the Air? I can't wait to knock that one down. And but of course, every Monday, take a look on your feeds for the latest edition of Am I on the Air, bringing you the latest and greatest in entertainment news. So keep an eye out for that. New episode actually just dropped last night, so look for our new episode there. It's called Golden. It's our season 20 premiere episode. So very excited about that. So check that out. Talk about Golden Globes and do a review of Richard Jewell. And so keep an eye out every Monday for the new episode of Am I on the Air, and keep your eyes peeled for that next Am I Still on the Air. So thanks everybody for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter at Am I on the Air, and me, myself, and I at DONMEGA. And of course, our website is amiontheair.com. So make sure you follow, download, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite sources out there: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, anywhere, Google Podcasts, anywhere podcasts can be found. You can find us there. Stream it, download it, rate it. We appreciate you. So thanks everybody for tuning in for this, and we'll catch you next time, y'all. May the Force be with you.
Frigginz!